hackers! Welcome to my new challenge. In today's lab, we are going to hack exploiting NoSQL injection to extract data. In this lab, we have a user lookup functionality that it's powered by MongoDB NoSQL database that it's vulnerable to NoSQL injection. And our mission is to extract the password of the administrator user, and then we are going to use this password to connect as administrator. And in here they provide as a credential of wiener Peter, so we can test this user lookup functionality. And here we have a tip that the password only uses a lowercase letter, so that makes the test more easy. Without further ado guys, let's start an hack. And here we go guys. So first let me go to my account, then let me activate Foxy Proxy. So I'm using Community Edition. Then let's go to the proxy, enter spec twice and go to HTTP history. So now let's log in, user wiener and password of Peter. And here we go. I don't need to save the credentials. And here we go. And here you can notice that there are unusual behavior and there are 6 requests sent to the backend. So let's check them one by one. So the first one is the logging method where we connect with the system. You can see that we have a user of wiener and password of Peter. Then it navigates us to my account, and this is the other endpoint, and it returns the HTML page. And in here you can see that there is a very interesting endpoint which is called resources JS and the user role. And let's check this page. And here we go. Now you can see that we have append from user and we have the email equal to user.email, and then we have a rule equal user.rule. And here you can notice that there is a user.email and then there is a user.rule, which means there is an object called user. And if we scroll down, you can see we have the second function, which is fetch another endpoint called /user/lookup, and then it give it a parameter, and then it returns a JSON object. So let's take this /user/lookup endpoint, and here we go. And now you can see that we are able to find some sensitive information. So let's see the request. And now you can see we have the user equal to wiener when we got this information. And now you can recognize that this is a very interesting endpoint. So let me send it to repeater so we can test it together. Now let's go to repeater and let me resend the request again so we can see the output. And here we go. Now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to see if we are able to get this information when we are logging out, which means we don't have this cookie. So let's delete it and let's send again and see. So now you can see that we cannot get the information when we are not logging in. So let me back to the original request. And now let's try to test this parameter. So let me change this wiener to another user, let's say Popo, and let me send. And here we go. And here we can find a message that we could not find the username. And this is a very interesting error in here, which means there is no user in the database called Popo. And definitely we know that there is no user called Popo. So let's try now to find the user called admin. And let's send. And here we go. Also, there isn't any user called admin. So let's say administrator. And let me send. And bingo! Now you can see that I still able to get access to another user's data, which is leak of information. And that's also another bug called access control, But in this lab, we are trying to get another bug and we're trying to find the hidden password of the user. So first, let me try to exploit if this parameter vulnerable to NoSQL injection. So let me try to add a double quote and let me send. And here we go. Now you can see we could not find a username, which means the parameter, it took all these characters as one string. So let me change the double quote to a single quote and let me send again. And now we got another error. There was an error getting user details, which means we broken successfully the condition. So now let's imagine how the backend code looks like. So let me go to the VS Code. And now what we are trying to do, we are trying to broke the condition. So let's say there is if a username double equal to administrator, and then here it returns a JSON object. So let's back to the previous request, and here we go. So as you can see in here, guys, we are only able to see 3 fields. So maybe there is another hidden field, call it password, and this is our target. So in case that we could not see this hidden field, this is called projection in MongoDB. So what we are trying to do now, we're trying to find this hidden field and check if it exists or not. So now what I'm going to do, I'm trying to use some techniques to verify that this endpoint is vulnerable to NoSQL injection. So as we saw that this endpoint, it breaks when we use a single condition, then I'm going to use double end, and then let's say a basic condition like 1 equal to 1. In case that I'm going to concatenate this payload, in this string it will be looking like this. So in here we could not broke the condition because we have the end single quote that we could not replace it. So all what we have to do is to add another single quote just before the last value, like this. So let me just add it in here and let me copy it and let me test it in here. And now you can see that I have to encode the double end. So let's say Control U and let me send and check. And here we go, guys. Now you can see that I'm still able to get the sensitive information, which means that this endpoint is absolutely vulnerable to NoSQL injection. So now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to see the possibility to get access to this username field so I can test it. And let me show you how. So first, let's say single quote, double end, and then let's say username. So in case that every string is an array of characters, I'm going to use it to get access to the first value, which is A of the first character in administrator, and then let me add the single quote in here. Let me copy it, and let me see if I'm able to get access to this field. And let me encode the double end. And here we go, now let me send. And as you can see, I cannot get access to the user value. So let's back to the Proxy proxy. Let me back to the user rule file. You can see in here, guys, there is a user.email. So definitely there is a user object. So let me try in here to add a user and see. So let's say user.username and let me send. And here we go. Now I'm still not able to get access. So let me change this user with this keyword and see. And here we go. Now I found the vulnerable payload. So let me copy this one and let me paste it in here. So this is the successful payload. Now what I'm going to do, so I will see if there is a hidden password and change this username with the password field. So let me back to the proxy again and let me go to the login post method and let me scroll down. Now you can see in here we have a field of username and then we have another one called password. So maybe in the other object also there is a field called password. So let me copy it from here and let me paste it in here and let me back to repeater. Let me copy it and let me paste it. So what I'm going to test now, I'm going to test if the first character of the password is equal to A, and let me see. And here we go, guys. Now you can see that we could not find the username, which means the condition is not correct. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to change not equal, but let's say different than A, and let me send and check. And here we go. Now you can see that I'm able to see the information, which means there is a hidden field, call it password. So now, if you are familiar with the SQL injection, so you will definitely know what we are going to do. So the first step I'm going to do is to find the password length. So let me copy this payload and let me now try to find the length of the password. So let me say this.password dot length, and then let's say double equal to 1, and let me copy it and let me paste it in here and let me send to see the result. And here we go. Now you can see that we could not find the username, and this is absolutely normal because there isn't a password length that equal to 1. In this case, I'm going to send it to intruder, and then I'm going to select the password length value and then click add. And now let me go to the payloads, and then in the payload type I'm going to choose numbers, and I'm going to say from 1 to 20, and I'm going to start the attack. And here we go. And here we go, guys. So let me check the first payload in here. You can see that the response is could not find the username with length of 551. But if you can see in the payload, when the value is 8, you can see the length is 209, and I'm able to get access to the sensitive data, which means the length is equal to 8. So now we know that the password length is equal to 8. So now what I'm trying to do, I'm definitely going to use this method again, but in this time I'm going to change the value of A with all of ABC values. So let me copy this payload and let me back to the positions in here. Let me clear and let me replace the old payload, and here we go. Now let me select the A value, let's click add, and let's go to the payloads. And in the payloads type, I'm going to choose the single list, and in here I'm going to add all the keys on my keyboard. And here we go, guys. Now you can see the payloads count is a 26, and now I'm going to start the attack, and let me start. And here we go, guys. Now you can see that the first value of the password is equal to S. So let me come in here and let's write it. So let's say S. And now let's back to the position. So I'm going to change this value manually in case that the password is not very long. So let's change it to number 1 and let's start the attack. And here we go. Now let's check. And this is it. Now the second value is B. So let's go in here and let's say B. Now let's change the value to 2 and let's start the attack. And here we go, guys. Now the third character is P. Now let's move to the next one and let's start the attack. And here we go. Now the fourth character is K. Now let's move to the next one and let's start the attack. And now the fifth character is N. And let's say N. Now let's move to the next character and let's start the attack. And now the next character is K. And here we go. Now let's move to the next one. And let's start the attack. And here we go, guys. Now the next character is P. And now to the last character. And let's start the attack. And here we go, guys. Now the last character is R. And here we go. Now let me copy it. And let's back to the lab. Let me log out. And here we go. Now let me go to my account again. And now let's say the username of administrator. And then let me paste the password. And let me log in. And here we go, guys. Now we successfully solved the lab. So I hope that you learned how to find a hidden field from the JSON object and how to exploit NoSQL injection based on the parameter. And now if you need any help or you have any question, please put it in the comment below and stay tuned for the next videos.